consumer society. Neither we as a society nor the planet can continue to afford the profligate forms of consumption and waste that characterize American society. We have to learn to live with a new simplicity as well as a new humility, which of course means dismantling empire, if we have any hope of survival as a species. And that entails not only a restructuring of the way we live, but an embrace of radically different values. Values that fly in the face of the message of the consumer or commodity culture. We are a culture utterly awash with lies that is pumped forth by public relations firms over the airwaves. Childish messages that reality is never an impediment to what we desire, which is delivered to us through Oprah or the Christian right or self-help gurus like Tony Robbins or Hollywood, but lie, of course, at the core of corporatism. So it's not just a matter of physically defying these entities, but rejecting the distorted and perverted value system that defines the commodity culture itself.
Okay, thank you. In your opinion, is this protest going to get real results?
We have to stop thinking in terms of don't let them define results. I mean, that is the biggest trap that you'll fall into, because they're going to make sure that the power elite, which controls the media, is going to define whatever you do as a failure. You didn't get enough people. You didn't last long enough. I think we have to think, and this, I go back, and I know many people here are not religious, but I think we do have to go back to the wisdom of the religious left. And I come out of the Christian anarchist movement, Dorothy Day, the Barragans, even King, that we have a moral imperative to fight for life. And if we physically get out and fight for life, we win. And if we don't rebel, and Camus writes about this, if we don't rebel, if we're not physically in an act of rebellion, then it's spiritual death. As a kind of Christian anarchist, I believe that we're called to do the good, or at least the good insofar as we can determine what the good is. And then we have to let it go. The Buddhists call it karma. Faith is the belief that it goes somewhere. And you don't know, no matter how intimately you have involved in this protest, you don't know how fundamentally you have touched or changed a human life here, or maybe a few lives, awoken a kind of consciousness. I look at this as a very long struggle, and I look at it as a struggle that, maybe if in all sort of objective, if one had to sort of measure objective reality, we may not win. These are powerful forces we're up against. But not to resist is to succumb to despair. And we can't succumb to despair because that's what they want us to. And so don't let them define whether this is a success or a failure. The fact that you got here, the fact that you sleep here at night, the fact that 80 people were hauled off to jail last night, the fact that New York City has gone absolutely insane over your presence in terms of security measures, creating a kind of green zone around Wall Street, for me, means you won.
Awesome. Thank you. Okay, another question. My father still does not believe this is a big thing because it is not being covered on local TV stations or in small amounts. How do you explain to someone that is 60 that there is a news blackout?
Because most Americans are passive consumers of information and very few are proactive, and the internet's only useful if you're proactive, I would say that we are the most illusioned society on the planet. That the vast majority of Americans live in fantasy about themselves, about who they are, about where we're going. I mean, the cold reality is that we run offshore penal colonies where we openly torture other human beings. Even Barack Obama hasn't seen fit to restore habeas corpus. The FISA Reform Act, and I'm one of the plaintiffs suing the government, is an act which has retroactively made legal what under our Constitution is illegal: the warrantless wiretapping, eavesdropping, and monitoring of tens of millions of Americans. The fact that the executive authority in this country can order an American citizen, and I'm speaking of the Yemeni cleric, to be assassinated. The fact that we prosecute preemptive wars, which under post-Nuremberg laws are defined as criminal wars of aggression. We have no right as a nation to debate the terms of the occupation. And yet we believe, courtesy of a vast system of propaganda, that we embody and promote virtues that the rest of the world should emulate, is an example of how divorced most Americans are from the reality of who we have become and the perception of who we have become. And it's a non-reality based belief system. It's one that at its core is not really about fact or truth. It's about self-exaltation, which makes you feel good, but it's a lie. And it's very, very hard to have rational discussions with people who drink deep from that very dark elixir of American nationalism. I wrote a book on the Christian right, and you can't really have a rational discussion with someone who believes that the world was created 6,000 years ago and dinosaurs had saddles in the Garden of Eden. I think the only thing you can do is reintegrate these people back into the economy, because you have to give them hope. The reason that they have retreated into these non-reality based belief systems is because they've lost hope. They've fallen into despair. They need miracles. They need fantasy in order to cope with the reality around them. And I think the solution is finally economic. Either we re-enfranchise the working class in this country, and there's been a Weimarization of the American working class, back into the economy, or we're finished. So economic equality, rather than long debates with people who have embraced fantasy, is what we should be working for and spending our time doing.
More? There's a lot. Try to filter out some. Let's see. One person asks, "What is your opinion on how to take away the fear from those who fear joining the occupation?"
Well, I was a war correspondent for 20 years, so fear is something I know intimately. And it's really about a kind of, I think there's two ways. One is self-discipline. You've just got to learn to live with fear. And covering conflicts, your perimeter of fear narrows, but when it's crossed, I mean, when you think you're going to get killed, or you're in the middle of a firefight, and the guy next to you, which has happened to me, gets shot, then you react in ways that, frankly, when I look back at it, are embarrassing. I mean, even to the point of praying, God, if you get me out of here, I won't do this again, kind of stuff. I speak as someone who had to read systematic theology at Harvard, but that's what you're reduced to. And fear is a potent force. I mean, culturally, the systems of power have worked overtime since 9/11. I mean, to make us afraid, both through the media and through orange alerts and Homeland Security. I think the way to overcome fear is to break the kind of atomization or isolation that is inherent within American society. That when you're, for instance, sitting in a park like this with a group, or when I go down to Washington with Veterans for Peace, there is a kind of communal, even religious quality to those kinds of protests that are deeply empowering. It's that ability to endure situations that are frightening and know that there's somebody standing next to you. And that's why, again, acts of civil disobedience are so important.